What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at MuskOx Quality Flannels. You are talking to a walking billboard, a.k.a. model for MuskOx Flannels. Today wearing the same flannel I was wearing up over the weekend in Leland, where I actually proved the point that I've been making, that even the most hideous who walk among us look good in a MuskOx flannel. The comfort, the durability. Not just good for Leland all trips, great for football games, great for October anywhere. Go to GoMuskOx.com and you can use the promo code HOFF, H-O-F-F, for $15 off your MuskOx flannel. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Peacock.
What's up, buddy? Yeah, when I saw that tweet from the Couch in the Rube account, I wonder who tweeted that out. I wanted to shit on it, because we like to joke with each other. But I was like, damn, you know what? He actually looks really good in this flannel. I mean, this should be on the cover of what? Do they put out a catalog for Christmas? The holidays. You should be on the cover because that is what they should focus on, is like the middle-aged white fat guy. Like, listen, man, we can help you out here. Because I'm wearing my old flannel, and I still feel great.
My wife even said, "You look really cute." Like, that's as big.
She saw
compliment.
the man she married in there, something in that picture.
Somewhere and under layers of flannel and fat, there he is. But the fat gets
Staring
covered up
off into the sky. Like,
we all know when a shirt makes you look good, you just keep riding it, And MuskOx flannels do that. Again, go MuskOx.com. We are going to dig into our hot takes.
Do we have to?
Well, that's sort of the show's built on. That's all we got.
Yeah.
You got other plans? I don't have any other.
No,
other
it's
plans.
not the plans. It's just, sometimes these hot takes, it's like, oh, do we have to sit there? How hot does it have to be?
Right. Well, and I'll be Eric and Dominic, people had shit to say.
Yeah.
So we're pretty good at, our listeners are getting better at not overdoing the hot takes in terms of word count.
Listen to you. Our listeners are getting better, implying that they were shit before.
But both Eric and Dominic wrote novels, so that will start.
See, those
there.
two,
Yeah.
I can read. I don't mind reading those guys.
Yeah.
It's when we get into hour two, and it's like,
yeah, no, I'm with you. So, but we will get to those, and they're good, and a lot of really good ones. But we will start with our hot takes. Do you want to go first?
No, please go first.
All right. So I feel like should probably go to the coaching search in Michigan State. That's where people's heads are. The name Urban Meyer.
It was great.
And there is sort of this, there's an enormous social media, mostly Twitter community push for Urban Meyer among the MSU fan base. Urban Meyer is Caton Hauser. It's the same, it's some of the same crew. It's some of the same feeling of momentum. It's just as over the top. And I think some of the, I don't even know if there's backlash, some of my hesitancy to, for a while, fully embrace the concept is I get just as annoyed by it. Nothing against Caton Hauser. It's nothing against Urban Meyer. It's like, man. And I know
There's
how
nothing against Urban Meyer?
Well, for me,
Nothing.
I don't have any personally against Urban Meyer. Because just as people had no reason to know Caton Hauser would work, and we still don't know. We will find out, I think, this week when Michigan State plays at Rutgers a little bit about him. Harlan Barnett today in his press conference wouldn't say there have been some reports that Caton Hauser's already been told that he's the guy. Harlan Barnett confirmed that they've already explained to the guys where they stand. They wanted to be coy about it because they don't want Rutgers to know. He all but said Caton Hauser is the starter without saying Caton Hauser is the starter. So, and I don't know what all you get by not letting people know that and what real advantage there is. Whatever, I get it. The coaches do that stuff, and I'm pretty sure Caton Hauser is the guy this week. But there's also not there was no reason to believe that Caton Hauser was definitely the guy, other than Some people liked the idea or wanted him or liked his family or connected somehow or he'd been hyped by something. And also with Katin Houser, there was this history of the more heralded guy not working out. And then there's this idea of what makes Katin Houser any better than Sam Levitt. Like, why would – it was the momentum that became annoying. That said, I'd like to see Katin Houser succeed. I think it's obvious, and I wrote this, that it's time to look at him. It's his turn. And I think as much as Noah Kim won the job, originally he has played himself out of the job now, and that's pretty obvious. Back to Urban Meyer. I understand why people are infatuated with him. What he did elsewhere is attractive. He's won everywhere he's been. He's won quickly. He's won at the highest level. If you can win at Bowling Green the way he did and the way he built Utah, you can win just about anywhere. And then he went and did it at places where you can win that have all the advantages in the world in Florida and Ohio State. I still think, like, and to go to the reverse, to be honest, the more folks that hate on MSU, be it Deadspin, or hate on the idea of Urban Meyer, or hate on the idea that Michigan State could ever land him, even my own friend Joe Rexroad, who wrote a column that people aren't real thrilled with, the more I see it the other way, the more I'd like to see Urban Meyer.
Did you talk Joe into that?
I didn't. I knew Joe Rexroad was going to come off like a crusty boomer who left covering the team in 2016, so I let him do it. But the more I see it the other way, the more I'd like it. So for me, it is all like when you don't have a dog in the fight, the only emotion you sometimes have toward it is just the entertainment or the annoyance one way or the other and wanting to see the other thing happen. I don't know that I've ever even spoken to Urban Meyer in my life. He's never looked through me the way Jim Delaney looked through a reporter. I don't have that. Maybe he would. I do think if they hire Urban Meyer, it's still just as likely to fail, maybe even be a disaster as a success. But the hit rate isn't great on coaches anyway. And I think there are a lot of things at play right now. One is Michigan is part of this. Ohio State is part of this. Like Michigan and Ohio State, Michigan especially, is at its apex right now. And that drives people nuts. There is a level, the idea of being solid and growing into something else does not sound good to Michigan State fans when they're seeing what Washington is, what Oregon is, what USC is probably going to be, what Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State are, and they're in this league next year, and mostly it's Michigan. And so I also get that, although I do think Harbaugh will be elsewhere next year, and Michigan will lose a lot of these guys, and it may be a little bit different than people are.
Wow, is that your hot take?
No.
Harbaugh's gone?
I didn't. I probably should have led with that, huh? And I do think the other thing is, I mean, there are going to be a lot of factions with how this all goes down. And I'm going to get into this in my own column this week on sort of from the SDF4L pulling out to where they are with that, to the Board of Trustees, to the presidential hire, to the fact that, I mean, a lot of what's happened now is Ishbia and St. Andre and Greg Williams. I don't know how much Greg Williams wants a certain thing, but it's donors wanting a certain thing, people who are in their circles to some degree agreeing and being influencers, and then watching the whole fan base join that momentum. And Ishbia and St. Andre, for all their money, shouldn't be the ones who get to hire a football coach. That doesn't mean they're wrong in wanting Urban Meyer. I still don't think Urban Meyer is likely to happen, as much because I don't know how interested he is. I also think there are people who around MSU's campus really won't like the idea. Does Urban Meyer have issues in his past that make it impossible for MSU to make that hire? Not necessarily, but there is an argument that if you're going to go that route, just give Mel his job back. I'm not,
But, okay, so the Zach Smith thing, what else are we talking about? Things that he did at Florida? I mean, to win everywhere you go, you have to have a certain level of scumbaggery.
The Jacksonville stuff's a little bit,
the Jacksonville thing was brutal, and it makes me question: can Urban Meyer, does he have it in him anymore to go to, even if he goes to Michigan State or another college?
And
does he have it in?
How he treats players there, do players like him anymore? Does it work? That said, you can read all sorts of stuff on him there, and there are a lot of players who are indifferent to the situation at Jacksonville. The Zach Smith thing is not great.
No,
and it's just not. and people will and some of our listeners here will bring up the point that you don't win with choir boys. I do think, though, it is different to have somebody have issues once you've hired them and stick with them than hire somebody on the front end that you know has an issue. And Michigan State is a place that has to be, I think, more sensitive than other places to this, and I also think it's not the only way to win. But
how sensitive?
Well, that's a good question. How you frame it, and
because I feel if you're going to be sensitive, then you shouldn't be in big boy football.
Well, yeah, no. This
then,
whole thing.
Pick one. Look, do you want to be a part of it or not?
Nothing has made me realize how not a fan I am of this, because all of this, because people have bluntly said to me on Twitter, I don't give a shit. I just want my team to win.
Right.
And it's made me feel like I don't give a shit either. I'd like college football to go away. This isn't what it should be here for. Who the fuck cares? They're not as good as the NFL players. The quality of play isn't high enough. So if all that what matters is winning at any expense, and who cares about the development of young men or all that stuff, then the sport should just go away. I don't give a crap about it. Don't need it. Don't want it. Go. That said, I also I think there are a lot of players who played for Urban Meyer over the years who would happily do it again. I think there are a lot of players in the NFL who were developed as part of an Urban Meyer program who would happily do it again. I think it needs to be more nuanced. It's hard to have a nuanced discussion when you have this momentum train from Ishbia on down that's like, this is it, and there's nothing that's wrong with it, and that you can't even have that discussion. And then you're going to have people on the other end who are going to say, this is problematic, and there's no way in hell, and not have that discussion. People should have the discussion if he became a real candidate. I think it'll make it interesting if he's no longer one, if they go in another direction, how quickly people get on board. Because I think there are other people that can win the press conference, so to speak, that can get people excited pretty quick, and that this will be just a forgotten moment in time. But I understand the appeal. He won everywhere he's been, and he elevated. He certainly, the idea that he could elevate Michigan State the same way, or if he could, that would give MSU to compete at a place that people want to be. Like, one of the problems with Joe's article, in terms of what a lot of MSU fans want, is it was about stability and then growing into something. And that doesn't work when Michigan may have the best team ever, when Michigan may win a national championship. When people are looking at that, the idea of what might make the most sense for Michigan State isn't really what people want right now. So I understand.
But do you think people are intrigued because of the state of not only the football program but the university? And they're like, well, if shit's going to go sideways, why not have Urban Meyer come in so we can win at football and basketball? I can see why I just don't get why people get so worked up over it. I like over the weekend on Twitter, just saying something about Urban Meyer and he was wearing a tie. It was just fucking around, and people are seriously offended that you would even think that Urban Meyer is coming to Michigan State. I just don't understand that aspect of it.
And part of it, like the backlash toward it from Deadspin and from, Dockich is not really he's just a character to himself. Leave that alone. Don't get worked up over that.
No.
But even from Joe, and Joe saying Feldman threw cold water on the idea. Feldman didn't throw cold water on shit. Like, Feldman can't throw cold water because you can't, like, I do agree that he's had a lot of really good reporting over the time. But also, when you're using language that says that these are candidates when they're not candidates, because there wasn't a candidate at the time, then you can't really be trusted for other things. And also, to the point of, like, carrying water for people, this is how it works. People say they're not interested. Mel said he wasn't interested like an hour before he took the job, right? Like, this is, don't get worked like that. Like, I'm not going to get on the Feldman
but
National Reporter
it's a
train,
coaching search, and you're going to hear, no matter what, or angry as you get and don't want to hear about it, you're going to hear wacky, outlandish shit. So either you can sit there and read it and go, there's no way, or, why get angry about it is my only thing.
I think it is fair to think that Urban Meyer is probably past it. That, to another Retro's points, that he is no more than, he's just Les Miles. The difference was Les Miles ran the fucking veer. Les Miles didn't know offense. Les Miles belonged in high school football at the end. Whereas Urban Meyer was sort of an offensive innovator originally, right? And that was just, it was a different deal. I think I think Les Miles was never the coach that Urban Meyer was in his day. So I think those are all comparisons.
Hypothetically, how many years do you think Michigan State would have to give Urban Meyer for him to? Is it obviously the more guaranteed money, or could you do a 5-year thing with Urban Meyer and say you have 5 years, then we'll go from there?
Well,
does he going to want? I just don't want to do a 10-year contract.
Urban usually steps down, and as Michigan State, as we've all seen now, that if you don't win enough, and Michigan State's going to write language in the contract too that's going to, they're getting out of the Mel deal for the most part, I would guess. And that I didn't mean that if you don't win enough, that's why they're getting rid of Mel. But I will say that, like at the end of all this, what is actually public about Mel right now, I don't know that some people would view as worse than what is public about Urban Meyer. And if you're going to give somebody a deal, a 10-year deal, and you're going to say, we're going to ride this out, and you may have not been thrilled with the direction of certain things, but I mean, how much different is it?
But again, the Zach Smith thing, what happened in Jacksonville, I mean, I need detailed of what did I know? Well, Urban Meyer was a car salesman coach, but I mean that's what he
lied about. He lied about knowing that Zach Smith.
I mentioned that, but I'm saying other than Zach Smith, what are the things down the line? Because as someone that obviously I tell my stories on this show all the time. I have a past. I have many things that I regret that I did back in the day. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a head coach, but you know what I mean. Like,
bingo, though. What Urban Meyer needs to do is not what he did at Big Ten Media Days before he got suspended. What Urban Meyer has to be is a little bit of contrition to understanding the hesitancy for him, to a little bit of wanting a fresh start, a little bit of saying I'm grown as a coach.
But he's not that guy, though.
Then you don't fucking hire him.
Right.
Like, to me, that guy emerged. I know a lot of people would. I wouldn't hire him. Right. And I'll say this for Alan Hall. There are a lot of people in the world questioning whether he should make the hire. I do think. I wonder who else would make the hire. Like, nobody else. There is nobody else to make the hire. And what we know about his hires are Adam Nightingale working out pretty well in the short term. Leah Johnson, I think, really bright hire. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Robin Freilich winds up. But these are the hires to sort of watch. And I think they've been pretty smart hires to this point. The Mel Tucker one obviously didn't work out. He was proud of it for a long time, though, and it looked like it was going to work out for a minute. He was a part of the D'Antonio search. I don't know who would be better to do this. And it will be interesting to see the dynamic at play, though, if the Ishbias of the world want Urban Meyer and how that all plays out. And then you have, the board will get involved, and they probably don't even understand the timeline. There are members of the Board of Trustees, I think, who thought they were going to be able to get a president in place that was going to be able to be part of this. And that's simply not going to happen either. So,
and speaking of the Board of Trustees, is it just bad timing for a guy like Urban Meyer to structurally for Michigan State as a university not having a president, the Board of Trustees? That how crazy that. And then you bring in Urban Meyer. I definitely wouldn't mind Urban Meyer, but I can understand the people pushing back on it. I understand your comments too. But again, if you don't at least try to go after Urban Meyer and tell your fan base, hey, we tried and it didn't work out, even though you don't want him, I think that's the angle Michigan State should go. Like, we tried to get Urban Meyer in, it just didn't work out. And then go elsewhere. Because
because you don't want the coach you hire to be your second choice.
Well,
to
then
Urban
you tell people
Meyer.
You're not big-time football. You're not going to be interested in big-time football. That's what you have to tell your fan base then.
You tell your fan base the job is not to hire. Like, I've had people tell me that Kalen DeBoer, the coach at Washington, like, you want to find that guy. Get that guy. Why don't you try and hire him?
They don't grow on trees.
Well, that guy was available at Fresno State. Is what I'm saying. Your job is to know who the next Kalen DeBoer is at Fresno State.
Right.
Your job is to know who Urban Meyer is at Utah or Bowling Green. That is the job. My fucking mother could hire Urban Meyer right now. And I'm not saying she could actually get this done.
That'd be wild.
It would go horribly. It would be a big story. But what I mean is, even she knows Urban Meyer's name. It is the obvious take. It is just not, and I'm not saying it's the wrong one 100%. I'm not saying it wouldn't work perhaps. I'm just saying it's easy, it's obvious, and it negates. And I'm a little surprised. I'm not surprised, but I did think there would be more factions of different parts of the fan base. Right now, there's a lot of Urban Meyer, anti-Urban Meyer. I thought there would be a lot more, I really love this guy. Push for this guy. and the momentum has all gone Urban's way, and whatever. That's fine.
But it's just kind of weird. And you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you were 100% against it, and then people seem like they were all right with it. You're trying to turn it like. So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm trying to be open to anything. I'm trying not to just have my initial reaction to Urban Meyer was to cringe. And I've done a lot of reading on him, a lot of, and there are things that, my sense is I won't love the guy. But it doesn't matter what I think. Ultimately, it's what is best for the program, the university, and what people can tolerate and get behind. And if you do win, people will tolerate a fair bit. The question is, would he actually win at this stage? And you don't want to be the one school that hired him where it didn't work. But anyway, that is in there somewhere other than Harbaugh leaving Michigan next year is my hot take.
By the way, your hot take was Twitter. I don't know. What did we do last week where we all of a sudden we're on Valeni, the Valeni show at the beginning? Yeah. By the way, I like Valeni and Rico's show. I do. I listen here and there. But Friday, I decided to, I'm like, let's see. It's 2:00. I'm like, let me just see what they're up to. I hear our podcast. I hear me. I have headphones. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And so Valeni comes out, and it's the Graham Couch podcast, which is fine. I know Rico knows who I am. I did a show with him for 4 years. Thanks, Rico. Appreciate that. But to hear, then you were on, and then he went on the whole segment. It was just wild. I'm like, wait a minute. What happened in the show? What did he say? Oh, yeah, that's right. That Urban Meyer was in town.
So the worst part is it's
fun, though, to listen to the show on a really good show.
I didn't listen to that part of the show, and because what happened is Friday we were going – I knew I stumbled over whatever I said. I didn't handle it as well as I probably should have. But also we were leaving for Leland for the weekend so I could show off my MuskOx flannel.
Hasn't taken it off.
At Fishtown. But – and lots of things going, other things, and and my mentions were like just a zillion. And so I feel bad if somebody was reaching out to me about other things I'm not ever going to see because I'm just not going to go back in my mentions that far. So I was like, I don't know. And Rico had called me while I was mowing the lawn and chatted with me about, and then I knew they were going to get into this. And I was like, well, we'll see where this goes. But
wait, you kept mowing the lawn or you stopped to talk to Rico?
I stopped for 5 minutes to talk to Rico.
I was about to say, that'd be pretty sweet, though. Answer it.
Yeah. I would always stop for Rico. All right, what is your first hot take?
Oh, shit, that's right. Where's Harry at? Hold on. Iguna Yaba Gita Jared Goff.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
Well, how about a good football team, Graham? The Detroit Lions. How about that 9.5 that people were scared of? I mean, this team, it was very surreal. This whole season has been surreal, but Sunday, when that game was never in doubt and we were dominating, and I know that we have had success with Stafford. We had some success with Calvin Johnson and Stafford. But you guys understand, right, that this is completely different. Like when we had success, we would still lose games like the Carolina game where we were, outmatched. What am I trying to say? We were way better is what I'm trying to say than the Panthers were. So it's just kind of weird. After the game, I'm trying to talk to Jordan, and he's like, hey, man, check out the Arizona Cardinal helmets. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are we not going to talk about the Detroit? And I'm like, yeah, it was kind of a ho-hum game, a game we should have won. Now we're fucking moving on to Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep doing this all season long because I'm not used to it. I am not. I don't know what I have to do to get used to this feeling, Graham, because I feel like the Lions, after I understand it was just Carolina, but winning a game like that and punching them in the fucking face the way you're supposed to, playing football the way you're supposed to, is just so exciting to me. And without Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff still, we just played so well, and I can't handle it. I don't think.
And I think people should enjoy the rise because and
I'm trying to.
And what I mean is at some point, if the Lions are good for like 5 years in a row, and that's a whole other that's
the other problem too. When you're talking Super Bowl, whenever there's a game on and all this shit, I'm just like, can we please just go one game at a time?
That's a good problem to have if you get to that point. But and I get that if that happens 5 years from now, you might not be able to enjoy the blowout home win over Carolina. But right now, games that the Lions used to lose, like people should be all in on this stuff. And if you ever get a little ahead of your skis, just watch San Francisco play and realize there's probably still a team that's a little bit
scary.
ahead. They're really good.
Good Lord.
Phenomenal. But yeah, no, it was
But still, I mean, if we're looking at San Francisco as an opponent, that that's also a good feeling, like you said.
The best thing about the Lions is that they were definitively better than Carolina, despite the injuries, despite missing some guys. Like the roster depth and everything, they're just good. Yeah. They're a good football team. They haven't played they obviously played Kansas City, and they've got like Tampa. I think will be an interesting game. Tampa actually looks okay this year.
Should be 5-0.
Should be 5-0. They should be 5-0.
Yeah. But with the injuries, I just feel that everyone's buying in. I know it's crazy to sound, but with Dan Campbell, if a guy gets injured, I just feel like these guys are ready to die for that dude. So like you see the tackles on special teams and stuff. It's just, I don't know.
Here's a hot take off your hot take a little bit. I do think what Brock Purdy is doing and whatever the 49ers years from now do with him is a lesson to Jared Goff. Because if the difference between the 49ers and Lions comes down to the fact that the 49ers quarterback makes $800K a year and the Lions quarterback makes $34 million, and that's what's the difference in the rest of the roster, that's a problem. Because Jared Goff is going to have to be better than – like I can see at the end of 5 years from now them saying, or whenever Brock Purdy's contract comes up in 2-3 years, we want you to be the starter, but we can find another you. So we'll give you $12 million a year, but we're not going to pay you like a big dude. Like ultimately, I'll be very curious to see where the Lions go with Goff on this, because if Goff wants to be the starter forever on the Detroit Lions, he can probably be that if he was willing to say, you know what, pay me $20 million a year instead of $40 like these guys.
Never happen. I think it'll be somewhere. I think it would be somewhere in between, maybe around the $30 million thing for Goff.
They should move on,
because I just feel, well, I don't know if you have to, because I think Jared Goff needs the Lions just as much as they need Jared Goff. If he goes to another team where there's a different situation, we've seen bad Jared Goff. So he knows for sure he needs to stay in this Lions organization with that offensive line to end his career. So he would take less money, I believe. But with the Brock Purdy thing, I mean, John Lynch is a genius, but they stumbled upon Brock Purdy, and he was, 4-year guy at Iowa State that people actually liked.
They did. They did scout him, and they did want him. But I'll give you an example. Like, Penei Sewell at some point is going to have to be paid.
I know, but you make it sound so easy. Like, you just get yourself a Brock Purdy for $800,000, and then everything just falls into line. I'm just saying it's hard to get a guy like Brock Purdy. Everybody thinks you can do it.
Maybe Hooker's that guy. All right, my second.
If we get down to Hendon Hooker, we got problems.
Yeah, my second guy. Fuck me. Fix that in post.
Should do the show at night again.
My second hot take. Mario Cristobal. I don't know if you saw this.
You took my next take. Yeah.
Well, we'll dive into this.
All right.
Obviously, lots of stir about what was one of the worst coaching decisions I've ever seen, not taking a knee up 3 against Georgia Tech when all you had to do was take a knee and you're walking off the field and you run the ball, you fumble. Georgia Tech gets the ball back, 2 amazing throws later, and you're all of a sudden you lose a game that you had actually won the game, if not for the coaching decision. So I didn't like Cristobal's response. I didn't like his sort of I should have stepped in there. No, you're the head coach. You not step in there. Like, that's your job. Like, he put it a little too much on other people. There were some people saying it was fireable, and there are lots of things that are fireable in this world, but I want people before they start tweeting that out to think about this. If you are a Miami Hurricanes fan and you like the direction of your program, and you think, yes, in this case, your coach was a moron, and he had apparently done this before at Oregon, and there are some concerns there, but do you really want to tear it all down, go on a coaching search because of this, to start over, to set your program back 2-3 years? Yeah. Like, think about that for a minute. Nobody wants that. Now, I do think there should be a show cause penalty for coaches who make this kind of mistake, where they cannot speak to fans or reporters for like 5 years and try to act like they're smarter than them. Because no fan in their world, including my mother, again, who could hire Urban Meyer, would have fucked this up. So that's the thing. If you're this coach, if you're the overinflated gym teacher, and I like gym teachers, but don't act like you just know so much and then do this. If you can't do the common sense stuff, doesn't matter how brilliant you are with the other stuff. Don't ever act like you're smarter than the common folk.
But here's the thing. We always talk about the hot seat and when coaches do shit. It's in jest, right? We're like, oh, yeah, this guy's on that. Fire his ass. I have to say, it makes sense for the one time here, because that was an all-timer.
It was an all-timer.
To not kneel. You're about to go 5-0, and not only the no kneeling, is that Georgia Tech, not an offensive juggernaut, gets the ball back. Did they even have a timeout? And then walk off
No timeouts.
No timeouts, and then walk you off. I mean, the whole thing, I understand it would, if you say it would take 2 years, but I'm sorry.
Yeah,
how do you come back?
Have a deep safety on that final play, too.
And then afterwards, he's blaming other people? Fucking hell. Are you out of your mind? That is the one time you go on and go, this is completely on me. I don't know what was going on. I mean, players are looking up at the scoreboard and go, what the fuck? So if one time where you go down and go, Mario, get your shit. You're out of here. It should have been that game. I don't really condone it, getting rid of guys during the season. I'm kind of on that with you. But after some shit like that, I'm sorry, you got to go. And Sarkisian, speaking of Sarkisian.
Yeah, he had a moment.
Bad coaches, I mean. Why are these guys? Here's my thing. If I'm a fan of a team and we're going down and we're going to score and you're playing for a field goal, I would rather have you throw the ball and then throw an interception. You were to throw a pick six or something. At least we tried going for the win. Instead of, Dylan Gabriel was throwing all over them. You're not going to stop this guy in overtime. Like I just can't stand these coaches. You wait all year. You put all of this effort as a fan into this shit. And Dan Campbell did it too. It's like you're going to go on these fourth downs. I'm in. But then all of a sudden when it's time to win this fucking game and get out of here, you're going to play for a field goal. Anyway, just the whole coaching thing kind of annoyed me this weekend.
Coaches.
But Cristobal, he's got it. Come on. How do you bounce back from that?
Well, it will be interesting. Like, if players respect you a little bit. Yeah, you've got to be different in how you communicate with your team about this.
How do you go into a locker room and get these guys motivated after that?
Yeah, Miami's at North Carolina this week. My money will be on the Tar Heels. My third hot take. I've got a Graham bet so to make, or betting advice for people. Graham Couch. I've got one 2009 bet. I do think right up into my rectum, and it was painful. I think and I heard this. I'll give credit to the Bill Simmons podcast for this. The Patriots to not make the playoffs is like minus 1,400. Guess who's not making the playoffs? The New England Patriots. And I'm telling you, if you just want
a hot take,
if you just want to make $100, 1,400. You're going to have to invest it to make the 100, but you'll get it back.
What happens if Billy B, though, swings it around? The legend. Yeah, it's bad, New England.
Better betting advice. Manchester City loses to Arsenal over the weekend and is hit a little bit of a stumbling patch. They are now at a reasonable number to bet them to win the Premier League. They're at minus 135. I think you'll see that in the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app. You'll see that on other apps as well. Minus 135 is as close to even money as you'll probably ever get Manchester City to win the Premier League. They are still the best team, and what they are is the team that's less likely to be upset by other teams. Like, you watch Arsenal play, Arsenal's going to lose games they shouldn't lose. Manchester City minus 135 to win the Premier League. It's as good. I'm just putting it out there. I'm on it. Everybody should be on it. That is my.
Is Harry on the line, or what are we? Is this our picks?
Well, we'll get back into it with Harry as well.
By the way, another thing I don't do. I don't tell people to watch movies or listen to music, but I'm going to tell you to watch The Equalizer 3. And this is not the Queen Latifah one.
Harlan Barnett watched it on Saturday with his wife.
Was it the greatest movie of all time? Did he say it?
He said he loves it.
They hire him as the head coach because he's right. It's one of the great. By the way, I love Denzel, so I had to kind of think about it the next day after I watched Equalizer 3 because I actually I was standing and clapping after the movie ended in our living room. It was that fucking amazing. It made me even angrier at the Queen Latifah version because it's unbelievable.
Which I didn't even know existed.
It's 55 million people. Can't be wrong, Graham. But anyway, I implore you, if you like Denzel or if you like those, the John Wick movies, I really don't even like this genre, but Denzel, Equalizer 3, I guarantee you will like it. The death scenes in this thing are like, it's the wildest shit I've ever seen. Being stoned to the gills and watching my guy, Denzel Washington. I mean, Jesus. Watch Equalizer 3.
All right. That's
and hire Harlan Barnett, I guess.
That's good advice. By the way, Hallmark movies are back this month for people. Sorry, we'll fix that in post. I thought
back to normal.
I thought that line was going to deliver, and it didn't.
Hold on. This will make it deliver.
Thank you. All right. Let's dig into our listener hot take.
All right. Eric Schultz up first. Number one, long single take, so buckle up. Sorry, Jason. Can we stop with this "we don't know if Urban will be good here" nonsense? Do you know who can also say that about? literally every other candidate. But look, the dude is 187-32 in his career. 2, he's got the 4th highest win percentage in major college football history. 3 national titles. To say that he is just as likely to be a failure than a success, or to say that he's not far and away the best candidate from a football standpoint, is absolute lunacy. And 3, there's one reason and one reason alone to not go hard after him. If a school that's bungled sexual assault and misconduct cases over and over again hires a dude who likely knew that he had a wife beater on his staff, you tell every woman who has been here or will go here that you value winning football games more than creating a campus culture that is designed to ensure their safety. If they do go that route, the intro presser can't be normal, oh, yay, we got a new coach stuff. They'll have to be transparent, say they know what this looks like, they vetted the crap out of him, and give concrete reasons why they went with him. And then they'll have to let you media folks ask any questions you like pertaining to Zach Smith. I'm done. Sorry for the novel.
I really like this from Eric, and I agree with his third point quite a bit. It goes to my point of that Urban's got to want them if that were to be the case. And I do think, and look, this is something that, this isn't us just surmising this could happen in the ether. There have been at least exploratory talks about whether this makes sense. Whether it ever goes anywhere, I have no clue. But I agree, you don't need you know what you don't need? The Breslin Center foyer press conference with the marching band and he's here to save us. It would be better off done a little differently, different tone. And I agree, you have to explain yourself. He has to come out with a level of understanding that people are going to be skeptical to some degree. And I think Eric nailed this point in his third point. And he also nailed his first 2 on why people are very, very interested in, and why he is attractive in a lot of ways.
Dominic next with 1. I say this with respect and sincerity. I'm also not talking about you, Graham. There is a very fucking weird energy among MSU sports writers and former writers in this state regarding coaching searches. This isn't tongue-in-cheek, blue wall stuff either. I'm very serious. Yet every time there's a coaching search, the writers all flex this moral superiority, like we MSU fans should all sit down and shut up and enjoy an afternoon thrift shopping and eat grass for dinner. And don't even think about asking for McDonald's. No Happy Meals. Respectfully, who the fuck do you guys think you are? Yeah, we are fans. We are allowed to say things. We're allowed to want things and say things, and we're allowed to want wins. Do you guys just like being miserable with basic bitch coaches and fuck-faced assistants? But when we bitch about those ass-fuck coordinators, you guys are all right there to let us know, us fans always hate their coordinators. Yeah, Okay, and every basketball team has 7 cases of Liz Frank every year too, huh? I'm sorry, Graham, but it's fucking weird.
If I ever write a book, Dominic and Eric can write the forward.
I agree with Dominic. You agree with Eric, so there you go.
Well, and I don't see everything on the weird energy toward it, and there is some moral superiority shit that goes on, no question, and I don't know if that's been from the MSU guys. Certainly, Joe's piece was straight out of 2015, and I, the fact that he brought up Narduzzi, and that sort of stuff, like that's probably
so is
not
Rex Road coming on this week?
Maybe we will. Yeah. I would happily have that discussion with Joe. I think if there's a real problem with somebody too, having a sense of morality in your opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think to Eric's point, there's no previous issue with Urban Meyer, period. Like, this is a guy, again, who pretty much knew he had a domestic abuser on his staff. Like, that is going to be problematic in 2023. If you don't think it is, it's going to be problematic in MSU. It should be problematic anywhere. It wasn't him himself or he would be obviously a guy you did not hire, period. But it's a question that is going to have to be posed at the introductory press conference, or should be better done if you really understand PR. And I'm not sure Urban would have this or anybody could make him do this. It would be part of his introductory statement that I have made mistakes on this and, whatever.
So Urban Meyer will never take this job.
Correct. There you
go. I don't see him doing that. I would like to think so. Jared Bear next. Number 1, Nightingale hire shows people should quit coming for Alan Haller to mess this up before he even has gotten started for the football search. 2, if big money will only donate due to deciding the coach, that's outdated as money better spent on NIL. And 3, the Pistons will hit the under win total.
Ooh, I don't like hearing that on the Pistons. This is the year they should get over 27.5, 28.5, depending on where
it's
you
under,
get it.
Man.
I mean, I understand the idea that when you look in the hierarchy of how many teams are in the Eastern Conference are better than them, there might be like a lot, but I still think
they
they've
win
got
30 games. I mean,
I think they can get to 30. I do think they'll get to 30. To Jared Bear's point here on Haller, I mean, if we're just talking recent coaching hires, he's got a good track record, or at least what we know about these coaches to this point. And you don't have anybody else who's better. And Matt Ishbia doesn't get to, just because he's got money bags, decide all this. Like, Matt Ishbia has, I mean, he does have some blind spots on certain things. Like, Matt Ishbia did not understand, in my opinion, based on my conversation with him, why when he initially donated the United Wholesale Mortgage money to NIL that went to like $700 a month or whatever to every football and men's basketball player, why there might be some pushback on the women's sports, women's basketball, maybe volleyball getting the same deal. Like, it wasn't in his.
He's a businessman.
Not saying he's not, and he should be able
to the point,
and he should be able to spend his money how he wants to spend it. I'm just saying that, like, if Matt Ishbia wants Urban Meyer, I'm not wholly trusting only his perspective on things in terms of how the university will respond. And I don't think Michigan State should ever be a donor-run university, nor do I think they'll let it happen. That doesn't mean he doesn't have good ideas. It doesn't mean he shouldn't have a seat at the table. Doesn't mean he shouldn't have influence if he's paying for the type of things he wants, and I think he probably wants some return on his investment at some point here.
David Jackson, number 1, pray for my immortal soul. Urban is looking better to me. I need another Big Ten football championship before I die. 2, Spartan hockey is back. Now fix the damn GLI and make it how it used to be. And 3, at least 6 starters on the 2024 team will be transfers and bonus hot toddy. Hotty toddy? Hot toddy.
6 starters on the 2024 football team will be starters. Yeah, very likely that could happen. Michigan State hockey is, I went to the game Sunday afternoon, and Saturday afternoon was the sellout. I'm not sure if Sunday afternoon wound up being that as well, but it had the biggest crowd in college hockey for the first weekend of the year. They sweep Lake State. There's an energy there. They were just clearly better than Lake Superior State, who's picked to finish near the bottom of the CCHA. So, like, I'm not saying they just beat some great opponent, but there have been a lot of years where you've watched MSU hockey, and that would have been a really even game, and they would have split the series. And so there is a definite, just different vibe, and a lot of newcomers who are some incredible players, and a big part of it. There is a buzz, and I think, and I feel good for MSU fans that they're getting that now, not just as a distraction, but as something else, right? MSU hockey used to be a big part of the self-esteem of the MSU fan.
Plus size softball dad next. Number 1, pretty sure Graham is one of Bernie Fratto's moles.
He's the guy who reported that Urban Meyer was in East Lansing. And I spoke to him last week, by the way. Was Urban Meyer in East Lansing? For sure, right? I certainly have no reason to trust to say he wasn't. And I talked to Bernie, and I have no reason to think that Bernie's wrong. And I had a couple other people say they thought it happened. I don't have it concretely, and this is what I was telling Rico, and I'm not sure how it played on the show. I know the idea of kicking the tires on him is something that's been explored at MSU. Whether he was absolutely in East Lansing, I don't have myself concretely.
All right, 2, can you imagine a professional writer even suggesting, let alone writing, that MSU should hire Pat Narduzzi? 3, you know they're hiring Barnett because he is safe and cheap.
I think they know that's not going to happen, and I think Harlan Barnett knows that's not going to happen. And I mean, it would be an unbelievable story if a guy who like Harlan Barnett, who I think is a great dude, and I think has a lot of value to Michigan State and has done a lot for them. It would be a great story if he had taken over, and all of a sudden it became this amazing season, and everybody was like, "Oh, wait a second, this looks pretty good." That would have been sweet.
That's a Hallmark movie.
Yes,
you said
yes.
New ones are coming out.
It's probably not happening now. Yeah. I do think if Michigan State beats Rutgers, and after watching Rutgers quarterback, this is the old, who was the quarterback? Juice Williams, who played for Illinois back in the day. Same approach. Juice Williams had a better arm, but blitz 11 and make the guy throw. Like, that's what I would do this week. No excuse not to be in this game. And if they beat Rutgers, having seen what I've seen from Minnesota and Nebraska and Indiana, there is a chance that Michigan State will win those particular games, in part because one of the interesting things that came out of today's press conference was that Jordan Simmons is the only player, and I like that Harlan Barnett's being frank about this, but Jordan Simmons is the only player who's decided to go in the portal since the Iowa game. Like, nobody else has said, that's it, I'm out. And Simmons is a guy who had played 4 games, so if he leaves now, he gets this year back. He's been a backup running back. Makes all the sense in the world for him. But if that's all you're losing, if everybody else is in, then you have a chance to have this year not be a disaster. That's a really good sign for Barnett so far.
Gavin Haas next. Number 1, Katin Houser leads MSU to a bowl game, winning against Rutgers, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Indiana. 2, the Lions are the most complete team in the NFC, maybe even the NFL, can win at all levels on both defense and offense. 3, the next 10 years are going to be the greatest years that Detroit has ever seen sports-wise. The Lions are atop of the league. The Pistons and Red Wings are at the end of their rebuilds with electric young cores, and the Tigers begin being ready to make their big move.
I hope this is that. It would be amazing if we get that.
I mean, Gavin, did you see San Fran, though? They look pretty good.
Gavin is young, so his perspective is shorter than some people.
Well, maybe put him in before the game or something.
But I do feel better about where we are as a sports state than a few years ago, right? The Red Wings feel like they should be in playoff contention this year. The Pistons have a young nucleus that we're all, I think, optimistic about, wanting to see where it goes.
And the Tigers owner is cheap, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one problem.
Fringe on that.
Chris Ilitch is not great. There is going to come a point, too, where people will really turn on him if it becomes clear he's holding them back.
If it hasn't happened yet, though.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Watching the Twins in the playoffs, are you serious? Andrew Gauthier, number 1, if the Lions had a stud defensive tackle, they'd be the team to beat in the NFC. 2, why do I never hear this moralizing BS about any other team hiring a coach? We need a winner. 3, Michigan football now has a Zeke the Wonder Dog knockoff. Is nothing sacred.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
what makes it a knockoff? It's just like outside the breed or something, or?
Well, no, it's just like another dog catching a Frisbee, I guess.
Well, they die. I mean, you have to replace them, right?
No, but Michigan itself has a new one.
Michigan, sorry.
Not Michigan State.
Oh,
yes.
Really? They have a dog.
But I don't know if you get to have.
I should read better.
I don't know if you get to be the sole team that gets to have a dog that catches a Frisbee.
Yeah, but you should feel like shit if you take the bit.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like, all right, doesn't Michigan State have that? Are they going to bring their dog?
Oh, which is now a night game.
It's
confirmed as a night game, October 21st. So that should be fun.
Sparty in GL, number 1. U of M, OSU, and PSU will beat us by a total of more than 100 points. 2, parlay, Lions, Pistons, Red Wings, and Tigers all make the playoffs.
You're going to probably lose that parlay. I do think there's value on the Pistons at like 6.5 to 1 to make the play-in. Also, be very careful when you're betting NBA playoff futures on the language.
NBA anything.
Yes, but what I mean is the language of your bet. Sometimes the play-in is not what they mean by playoff. So you're going to need your team then to also win the play-in to get to the playoff. The playoff in a lot of bets is the top 8, and so you just be wary of that. Sometimes you can think you've won a bet. Not saying this has happened to me. It may have happened to me.
Chris, pull some LSJ ad money and hire someone that will actually run the Pick'em League with integrity and not miss every other week.
This is fair. I forgot about it a couple times, got out of the habit. Then I was worried whether we're going to keep doing it because I really don't have. I don't want to sound like it becomes a thing where it's not something I have a lot of time to do the standings for. But our man Eric Schultz messaged me over the weekend, said once again, Graham, I have your back, and so we're back on. And this was a bye week for Michigan State, fine. But from here on out, the pick'em will be run with integrity. And thanks to Eric Schultz and his work on the standings, we appreciate him and your patience as well.
This show is ridiculous. It really is. David, number 1, Izzo will somehow try and make a 12-man rotation work until March. Norman doesn't redshirt. 2, Joe Rexrode will return to the vacant MSU beat at the Athletic, and fans will immediately try to run him back out of town. And 3, MSU runs a jet sweep to the wide side.
We might have to get Joe on this week.
It's a must.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we got to get Joe on. Look, the 12-man rotation, I am going to write more about Garrick Normand and the other freshmen. I was trying to do one column on each heading into the season, and I already wrote about Cohen Carr. I'll say this for Garrick Normand. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. I really enjoyed his perspective on things. He is not a guy who's he's like, if I don't play this year, fine. Like, I came here to be part of this program, to develop, to win. And that guy, for a freshman, totally understands what might be in front of him. He also understands if he shoots well, he may play because it could be something they could use. But, and again, most guys don't think they're going to be around 5 years, so I don't know how much they care about the actual red shirt itself. But he is not somebody who's worried about his playing time headed into this year, which I think is a good sign for Michigan State because that's one less guy that you're probably worried about sulking on the bench.
Did you know Garrick Normand, he goes by Joey when he goes to restaurants because of his first name? As someone that has a last name that's ass and you have to give it and you have to kind of sound it out. And it's kind of weird. It's for Lou Gehrig. His dad named him after Lou Gehrig. Isn't that kind of weird? I mean, isn't his dad like our age?
That is
He's
true.
in love with Lou Gehrig?
It's like what I wonder is 20 years from now, will we still have all the Jalens and Jadens? I mean, these are people all descendants of Jalen Rose. People know that, right? Like, that's where that started. Without Jalen Rose and the Fab Five, there are no Jalens or Jadens or whatever. That's all.
But you love Jalen Rose that much that you want to name your kid after?
I mean, I sort of get it. So, like, when I was a senior in high school, I used to walk or try to walk pigeon-toed because Andre Agassi and Jalen Rose both walked pigeon-toed, and I thought it looked cool as an athlete. Like, when I was if I was playing tennis and my opponent double faulted, I would walk to the other side like I felt like I looked like Agassi. The problem is I've got such, duck feet that are wide out that when I was trying to walk pigeon-toed, I was actually just straight-footed like a normal human.
Yeah.
So, but in my head, how I looked was like Jalen Rose and Andre Agassi.
I missed that story.
That is, by the way, a story not worth telling, but worth saying, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. That's 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. Trivia Tuesdays. If you haven't done it yet, very cool thing, starting at 7 p.m. downtown. Great place to do trivia, great menu, terrific beer selection, good setup. If you're just looking for a date night or brunch on a Sunday, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their full menu.
From the Woodshed next, number 1, so we don't make a run at Urban because the game has passed him by. He's past his prime and isn't worth more than $7 million, and he's never recruited in the NIL era. Worst takes ever from Couch. Yes, worse than the 2018 MSU offense being the best ever. 2, Urban is worth every penny of $10 million plus because of his 85% winning percentage and 3 natties at 2 schools. A competitor like him won't let the game pass him by. I would sell Beaumont Tower if that's what it took to bring him here. I'm with him.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No, there's number 3.
I did read 3, didn't I?
No.
Oh, 3. Watch the Board of Trustees fuck this Urban hire up at the 11th hour.
Yeah, the board, I feel like the board is one really angering move from people saying, how is this not a governor-appointed thing? Like, why do they not do that in this state? Why do we elect the Board of Trustees? Which I still think is a mistake. Most places don't do it like this, by the way, in case you didn't know. Most places, the only places that do it are like Michigan State, Michigan, and Wayne State. And if you want to know 3 fucked up board of trustees over the last, decade plus, it's Michigan, Michigan State, and Wayne State. Like, don't do this. It's just not a setup that most people do for their board of trustees. It does not work.
Mike Scott, number 1. Regrettably, Michigan will play Georgia in the national title game this year. 2, the Lions are the 4th best team in the NFL right now. I don't think that statement has ever been uttered before. And 3, the Lions might clinch this division by early December.
So this is actually...
It is a bad division.
One of my little bit of concerns, and these are, again, first world NFL franchise problems, clinching divisions early and things. But like the Lions, I worry about them retaining momentum heading into the playoffs, because the one thing I do want them to do is stay within striking distance of like the number 1 seed, because I want them to have to play out the season. I want them to be something on the line. I don't like, you see it all the time, teams that sort of take they just sort of take the foot off the pedal, and it's hard to get back sometimes. And I don't know that the Lions are the team that gets it back. That makes me a little nervous.
Jobin next, number 1. It's disappointing that we got more vitriol from Graham about Deadspin than about Urban Meyer. Which of those 2 is a bigger bully?
Deadspin, by the way.
2, the talk about Meyer has little to do with Meyer himself. This is about whether or not the MSU community has learned anything from the last 15 years.
No, there are real conversations. If it got to that point that he was going to be seriously considered, there would have to be work on the one of the advantages to the situation that MSU's in terms of the time frame, in terms of Urban Meyer not being in a coaching job. If Urban Meyer was a coach right now, you could never do this. But if you got to a point, and again, I don't think this will happen, but if you got to a point where you'd gone down the road with them a little bit, beyond exploring it, you thought you may wanted to take the next step and start to really, you would have some time to reach out to people on campus, important people, make sure people are on the same page, to sell the idea, to get Urban in the room with the right people. Like, you would have to do some of that. And this goes way back to the early points by Eric. I think that's more important than people realize. And, if you're just going to throw morality out, and I'm not saying he's committed the worst sin in the world, but if you're just going to ignore something that might not be ignorable by a lot of people on campus, then give Mel his job back.
Zeke's fan page. Number 1, co-presenting is real and underrated.
Absolutely.
Is this your burner then? 2, Zeke the Wonder Dog needs a Spartan All Access video. And 3, MSU needs to prioritize a clean image, but the blue wall is real. All we can do is minimize the media's negative light on Spartan Nation.
There, people love to pile on MSU, and that part of it drives me nuts. It does. From
welcome to the blue wall.
From Deadspin on down, and I do have issues with Deadspin. We'll always have issues with Deadspin because I don't like bullies. And that is the one, like, if it became clear to me that Urban Meyer was a bully, I wouldn't like Urban Meyer. I do not like bullies, and I can deal with them, but I don't like when other people get bullied. And so Deadspin can fucking die a miserable death. I don't care about it.
Lefrere Mort next. Number 1, unless Urban Meyer possesses an unswerving predilection, fuck you, to assume the venerable role of coach at MSU, coupled with the, oh, fuck you. 2, I'm sorry for that, Jason. I love you, but I needed to hear you read that.
Yeah, you didn't. No, sorry. I knew as soon as you started, I was like, I thought if you got past the first sentence, you'd be far enough in to maybe commit, but once you struggled there, I knew it was
whatever. Hilarious. Jeff Peterson. Number 1, Jared Goff and the Lions are looking a lot like Joe Flacco and the Ravens Super Bowl team. 2, MSU made it through the bye week without losing a game. Time to celebrate the small things. And 3, fall in Northern Michigan is just about perfect.
It's perfect for a MuskOx flannel. But yeah, no, it is perfect. It's
do we have the Ravens defense? I don't know if we have the Ravens D just yet from that year, but
yeah, Joe Flacco had the thing about Joe Flacco is he was actually amazing in that run.
He could throw a deep ball too.
Yeah, but he was unbelievable for like 4 weeks and then wasn't ever the same player again. I don't know if that's Jared Goff's trajectory,
because Flacco got that bag, as the kids say.
And Jared Goff already had it. But I am very curious to see what Goff is in big playoff games and big moments and big games throughout this season. Like, there's going to be moments. The one thing I don't love about them, like, running away with the division is, are there going to be real pressure games for Jared Goff before the playoffs? I would like to see him deliver a little bit this season. He has to this point.
Keep winning by 14,
Fair
21
enough.
points.
Fair enough.
Screw it. DMB, number 1. Joe Rexroad can go crawl back under whatever rock he lives under in Nashville. Awesome stuff tying Nasser to the football program and telling us to get a cute coach that wins 8 games a year. 2, lots of opinion pieces out there, but no journalist could get a source to confirm Urban was an EL. Sad stuff. 3, I agree with Dominic. The media behavior towards MSU is bizarre, even beyond the blue wall. It should be malpractice for MSU to not have conversations with Urban. This is big boy. This is big boy business football. Y'all need to get a grip and grow up, respectfully.
Absolutely. I mean, fucking everybody masturbates just because you did it on the phone. Fucking keep coaching. Like, I mean, if we're going to go there, let's go there. He had a 10-year deal. He had a really 2 good last recruiting classes. There was a lot of momentum still. I think that you underlying for Mel Tucker. Let's a big boy football. Let's fucking go. But we are going to have Joe on.
All right, Joshua, number 1. Garrick Norman will redshirt this year. Izzo said he'll play. 11 guys, and last time I checked, there were 12 players on scholarship. Garrick hasn't appeared in any other of the media day interviews either. 2, volleyball needs to be on Peacock. I'm so not paying $55 just to watch volleyball on Big Ten Plus, the Ocho, or whatever the fuck that's called. And 3, hire Urban or don't. Fans have no say in the matter anyways.
I wish BTN Plus is a little better production. I know a lot of it's done by students, but I do subscribe.
And how are you charging $55 for that if students are running that shit?
Yeah, it's actually only like you can do it
public. It's cable access,
but it's like $12 a month or something like that.
That's still crazy.
Yeah,
with that production.
But you can see all the volleyball and hockey. There's a lot of stuff to see, and if you just want to see your school. To the Garrick Norman point, though, that he wasn't on any of the Media Day interviews either. And I don't know if you're talking about different stories people wrote. Media Day was, and I understand why they did it, but it was so early this year. Like, Media Day is just a Tuesday in early October to a lot of people. You're not going to write a lot of stuff off there. I think there are stories, including my own column on him, that will come out over the next few weeks. And so I don't, but the idea that a red shirt, it does suck that they don't have in basketball what they have in football, which is to be able to play 30% of the season without you can do it with an injury in red shirt, and then to really be able to make a decision. Because I do think a guy like Garrick Norman, if you could play up to 11 games at any point in the season and still take a red shirt, that would give you more time to sort of figure that out and make that call, and I wish that existed.
Spartonius Maximus next. Was anyone else alarmed by the MSU basketball players body surging at the Izzo campout event? Looked like a perfect storm for an injury. Love the enthusiasm, but I'm surprised that was allowed. Oh, body surfing. You had to type something wrong.
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah,
body surging.
I actually did.
These kids doing now.
No. She had texted me this, and I had
body surging. That's what Tuck did.
Yeah, I apologize. I screwed this up. But it's not body surfing. Yeah, body surfing does. I didn't think about that at the time, but the players body surfing
just don't drop them.
Cold night and out with kids, or I don't know how sober
fragile
the kids
are these fucking kids. You can't body surf.
I don't know. It seems a little dangerous. If you get
but they're like 6'7". If they just drop you, you just put one leg down and you're back on the ground.
You crack a forehead. It's not great for Xavier Booker.
Liz Frank was hanging out at that place.
Was she? Oh yeah, I
saw her.
Not good.
Spartan 18770. Number 1. MSU will win 4 more games and face Peyton Thorne and Auburn in the inaugural Peacock Bowl with Tony Dombrowski. 2, Jonathan Kim will kick 2 60-plus yard field goals against Rutgers and immediately declare for the 2024 draft. And 3, Graham becomes the spokesman for Old Spice after his MuskOx picture.
I do believe MuskOx put me on a track that could lead to other modeling opportunities.
Dude, Yacht Rock, I mean, your face in that flannel should be when you see Sirius XM and you go to Yacht Rock.
That's it.
Picture of you.
Jonathan Kim, 2 60-yard field goals. Jonathan Kim, though, I think is a guy who will get looks at the next level if he keeps kicking like this. The problem is the next level, consistency is everything. And I don't know how consistency is from 30 to 40 yards out yet. And I mean,
Kim is him. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Chris Eastlick, number one. One of the most frustrating things about this season is we could be 4-1. 2, the Rutgers game will be the indicator on how the rest of the season will go when it comes to winnable games. And 3, Haller has done a great job with coaches so far. Nightingale and Leah Johnson have been home runs. I'm optimistic about Freilich. We should have confidence in this search.
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing. People cannot love Alan Haller, and I think there are, my sense is there are donors who don't. And this is why it shouldn't be a donor-run university, because I think, well, there are probably some things that people disagree with he's done. There have been some hires that are really good. And if somehow he doesn't stay as athletic director and somebody else comes in and isn't as good at that stuff, well, then that should be part of the donor's legacy too. You know, if you're Ishbia and St. Andre and you are influencing something that doesn't help like, here's the thing, though. An athletic director is ultimately judged by their football coaching hire. So this is going to determine whether Alan Haller is going to have a successful tenure or not beyond now at Michigan State. That said, it is not the whole story. And I think a lot of what's happened in terms of the actual hires has been really sound so far.
JD next, number one. Look at Graham flexing his muscles and getting this pod free advertising. Can't wait to see Valeni in a MuskOx flannel during the show tomorrow.
Absolutely. That was the plan.
2, after 8 years of having my eardrums blasted by metal instruments, I didn't think I had more hearing to lose. I was proven wrong after today's Lions game. #OnePride. 3, Urban MSU discourse not being discussed at all during the Big Noon kickoff show tells me that there's an actual good chance this happens.
In other words, the point being, if Urban was able to flatly deny it, they would just bring it up on the podcast. I don't know if journalistically they would do that either way, but you know,
and Herb had to wear that tie that kind of looked green.
That's right.
If you had enough MGs in you.
I saw a lot of people pointing out his outfit was saying the job was.
I could see him doing that. Like, how does this look does this look green on TV?
I don't even know if he dresses himself.
That's true.
Do those TV guys dress? I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Professor. Texas first L of the season always brings me joy, no matter who beats them. And bonus, going to a cider mill is fun. Going to a cider mill on the first fall Saturday just after lunch along with the entire population of Michigan is not fun.
Yeah, so we're driving back from Leland up north. We come by the Cider Mill alley, you might want to call it, near St. John's with Uncle John's and the one that's across the street. You want to talk about misery. First of all, it's a sunny, hot, like cider mills are built for like a fall day. It's sunny as shit, which is awful already. And then like there were like lines of cars trying to get in and out. It looked overrun like nothing else. I think it probably had something to do with people saying, all right, look, it's the Carolina Panthers. If we're going to do it, this is the weekend. Saturday, Michigan State's on a bye week. I'm sure it's all overrun. But, man.
But he says it's fun. Like, you go to those things. Like, tell me, what is fun? Do you find it fun?
Well, I like donuts.
Well, yeah.
And cider. And getting a pumpkin. And I like being able to pick your own apples, which you can't even do anymore.
I'm asking, did you have fun?
I didn't go to a cider
I'm saying,
mill.
but you have done it before.
Yes, I've had fun sometimes. But okay. I like going out when it's not overrun. Give me a weekday. I'll go on a weekday. That's a better deal. And I understand not everybody can do that. You can't have weekdays.
Whatever non-football day.
Kids are in school and people work and all that stuff.
In Sparty, we trust. I've watched a lot of bad Lions football during my lifetime and have gotten my hopes up before. This team is just different. The same old Lions would find ways to lose because we didn't show how to win. But like Campbell said, we're now the hunters and we're at your door.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I cannot remember a season feeling like this in my life. Not since I was a child.
Store the roar. Even back then, it wasn't the same.
Well, because
this is crazy.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's yeah. No,
it's what being an NFL fan of a team should feel like.
Well, and it speaks to how many regimes have screwed this up. Because what Holmes and Campbell and this operation have done is the idea that you do need 3 years. Like the first year, the roster wasn't that good. But it does tell you in the NFL, by year 3 of drafting for 3 years, signing free agents, whatever it might be, being able to maneuver and develop, you ought to be able to put together a pretty good team. And it lets you know sort of what the timeline really ought to be in today's NFL. No worse than and you just think about how many 3-year windows didn't actually work for
multiple.
Yeah, brutal.
Zabrakwa Spartan. Number 1, I was worried about the Lions this week after injuries to Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Branch. I feel dumb now. 2, these road games against Tampa and Baltimore are huge. Win both, we're in the Super Bowl conversation. Lose both, and doubt emerges. And 3, is anything worse than losing to your spouse in fantasy football?
You compete against Therese in fantasy football,
No,
don't you?
she's in her own league.
Okay.
She does her own. Yeah.
Have you ever been invited to that league?
No. It's like with her cousins and stuff, and there's solidified spots, and
They're not really sure you're a part of the family yet? Is that
that could be it as well. But I just didn't want, you're not going to intrude.
right? No,
You got to kick somebody out so I can play. I mean,
I do.
have the wife do her own thing.
I do.
It's okay, Graham.
I do agree that the Tampa game is going to be interesting because Tampa's kind of a nice story itself. The whole
bullshit.
resurgence of
We
Baker
should
Mayfield.
kick their ass.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
Who cares? I'm not scared of Baltimore either. Who is this guy? Oh, who am I? Ken Chu, number 1, going forward, it will be easier to make the college football playoff than it will be to win the Big Ten championship. 2, the Rams and the Chargers should be fined for having color schemes and logos that are too similar. And 3, Guinness Zero is the best non-alcoholic beer ever.
I mean, I love Guinness. I'll try Guinness Zero. I'm a little suspect, but I will.
You should be.
I will try it.
It sounds terrible. I didn't like Guinness with all of its shit in it.
By the way,
That's just me.
if you want a really good stout, American
Tim Stout.
Well, that too.
Oh.
American Stout at Midtown Brewing Company, my favorite stout of even more so than Tim. And of course, that's in
Free
downtown
parking
Lansing.
in the rear.
Yeah, I'm telling you, a good, cool fall day, MuskOx flannel and an American Stout at Midtown Brewing Company. Nothing's more Lansing and
You think Stout
Mid-Michigan
hates
than
us?
that.
You think he hears like what I like the stories I told?
Guarantee you he doesn't listen to this.
He might not listen, but I think people tell him.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I just want to think that.
Okay.
So he hates us? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
By the way, to the first point about, of course, it's going to be easier to make the football to make the playoff than win the Big Ten. Only one team wins the Big Ten, and I think every year there will be at least 3 Big Ten teams in a 12-team playoff. So you're 100% right there.
Bo McJunkins, number 1, sweet Nasser reference in your article, Rex Road. We should read these when he comes on. Do you guys get a royalty for tying that fuck stick into football stories? Glad the university will never get to move on because writers who don't cover our team can't help themselves. And 2, and if the Nasser reference weren't enough, Pat Narduzzi, the 1-4 Pat Narduzzi, why don't we just see if Jim fucking Bowman or Don Treadwell are available? Go cover Vanderbilt water polo, Joe. 3, Urban Meyer made mistakes, so F him, right? Right, Jim Harbaugh? Jim Harbaugh has all the sorts of the controversy of the last 365, Mozzie, Weiss, Edwards, etc., and a DUI in his past, and he punched Jim Kelly, but hey, he worked the chain gang at his kid's football game and pet Sharon Moore's dog, LOL. Z.
Again, this does go back, though, to the idea that if the baggage happens while you're at the school and winning, it's you've already hired him. This is happening. Do you really want to get rid of somebody for this? Whereas on the front end, if you know something and now you're choosing to hire them, I do think that things are a little bit different. But you're.
But again, when we talk about
the
the Urban Meyer baggage, I get the Zach Smith thing. But when I ask for other examples, I mean, it's just like, well, the Jacksonville thing, at Florida, Aaron Hernandez. It's like, oh, okay. I mean,
I'm not suggesting Pat Narduzzi, but if Pat Narduzzi was 5-0 right now, would people feel the same way? And this goes to my point of like the idea of let this year play out a little more with some of these coaches that people are high on, but also don't overreact to 1 year because you can have teams that aren't.
so much fun to overreact.
It is good.
J19 next. Number 1, when an offense has a penalty that is half the distance from the goal line, they should still have to go the full distance of the penalty. 2, Michigan should go for Ohio State versus Penn State if Penn State wins the entire season comes down to needing to win at Happy Valley.
Oh, so Michigan should be rooting for Ohio State over Penn State. I see what you're saying.
should go for. Oh, okay.
You know, look, Michigan hasn't played anybody yet, but they also look
it's the same
tremendous,
every year.
Tremendous. But let's
6-0. Don't know if they're good.
Well, I think
they look good.
I think they're good. What we don't know yet is how they'll react to stress. We don't know this particular team when they actually play a team that can test them, but they're phenomenal. They may be the best team they've.
You're all about stress. You want Michigan to go through. You want Jared Goff. You want the Lions to throw a game.
I want
so
MSU fans to deal with stress.
Some reps.
Everybody gets stress. Have your stress.
Oh God, Cucker Tarleson, number 1. MuskOx calling Graham rugged is the best thing I've ever seen. Also, did Graham just become a model in that quote tweet?
He thinks he has. Yeah.
2, this is the last year of the pod. The cause will be Graham's lack of posting the pickups for the week. That's the reason. Also, an assault charge will be involved between you two. Best of luck, men.
Whoa, that's a
pick a chair, couch. Which one we fighting over? Fucking go Mario and Rod in here. So dumb. Can you believe those guys can't come back because of a fucking chair? Oh,
man, it is true. Like
if this show ended because we fought over a chair, though, it would be the greatest ending. I got to say,
especially if it was like if it was caught during the show on YouTube and Facebook, like that would be tremendous.
Just us yelling, taking off our muskox like we're going to do something. Tim Horton, number 1, MSU scores less than 11 points on Saturday. 2, Rutgers scores less than 16 points on Saturday. 3, if Jay Johnson got a guaranteed 4 more years in time to develop Sam Leavitt, we would have a top 10 offense in 25.
A pro Jay Johnson tweet there.
And this is Jay Johnson's burner, Tim Horton.
Sam Leavitt, and this is, again, there's a lot of obsession with Caton Hauser that's unwarranted. My Sam Leavitt.
Why is it unwarranted?
Well, because we just
I like Cohen Carr. Is it unwarranted that I overly like him? I mean, if you like Caton Hauser, who cares?
You've at least seen more from Cohen Carr than anybody's seen from Caton Hauser at the level. And there was more on Caton Hauser before there was any reason for it. I mean, he might be the next Rocky Lombardi. I don't like Sam Leavitt. I think probably throws a prettier ball, but that again is I have this sort of weird curiosity about Sam Leavitt as a quarterback. I'd like to see him play this year. I'd like to see what he is.
Which year Rocky Lombardi of?
Doesn't really matter. It's sort of it's not a natural thrower.
I know that wasn't a part of it. Neurotic Pants, number 1. As an MSU fan, I won't square with the reality that MSU football has been bad most of the last 5 or 6 years. To me, it feels like an interruption until a national program with a lot of money, history, and fans behind it gets back on track, and it will be back in the picture. 3, 2. Tom Izzo desperately wants to be polite to everyone, but really hates journalists.
There have been moments I can attest to that.
3, Ferris State or Northern should strive to become FCS teams.
I mean, FCS, that's skipping the 1AA or the. Oh, I guess FCS is the 1AA level. Yeah, that's a good question whether that would make sense for them or not. You're talking about 20 more scholarships. In terms of facilities and travel and everything, do you really want to do that? I think if you're Northern Michigan and you're close to Michigan Tech, and I know that people travel a long way to get to them, I think Division II is a pretty good level for them.
I mean, I disagree with number 2.
Why don't you write something? Huh? Why don't you write something?
Loves you guys.
Tom Izzo is it's a love-hate relationship he has with journalists. There are times he really likes him.
Can you blame him? I know you are one, but you get it, right?
Oh, I understand.
You guys are annoying.
I understand why he gets annoyed at us, but I also understand. I also get the phone calls from where he just wants to chat.
Sure.
Like, that's.
But you guys don't think like he's not annoyed by you guys.
Sometimes we know
he probably
is.
does like you, and deep down, you know
he likes the media more than most coaches.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Travis Maynard next, number 1. Yo, the Lions have beat one decent team by 1 point with Chiefs receivers dropping passes left and right. They likely lose if Kelsey plays. Outside of beating a team that should have lost to the Jets and decimated Packers team, they're paper Lions. They are paper Lions. Let's not plan a parade just yet. 2, Lions are the Michigan of the NFL. Clearly a good team that'll likely win their conference, but get absolutely steamrolled in the playoffs. We'll look back at the season that consisted of maybe 2 quality wins and say, told you so.
Yeah, but the thing about the NFL is everything's a quality win.
Travis, are you okay? Are you a Lions fan?
Yeah, probably.
I'm asking you this. I mean, if you're not, then it's fine. But if you are, what are we doing here? We're going to be negative still? I mean, I think they've proved enough a little bit here. You might be right, but I mean, shit. Do we have to be negative right now?
You got to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy this, you're just not going to enjoy life.
Right.
If you're a Lions fan.
Yeah. Jay Riemenschneider, number 1. This year right here is bearing out to be the absolute perfect scenario for a 12-team college football playoff.
It would be better if we had it this year because you're right. There isn't that dominant team.
Are you answering these in between now? Or
I apologize.
Is the format changing?
Sorry. Just go ahead.
2, maybe Marcus Freeman and Mario Cristobal are not good at game management and risk assessment, meaning they're not good head coaches. And 3, JD's Question Friday was talking about MSU choking versus Iowa. Duke's Mike Elko, a prospective MSU coach, giving up a 4th and 16 quarterback run to Sam Hartman and Estime, whatever, being a former MSU commit who flipped to Notre Dame, scoring a game-winning TD.
Oh, the running back, yeah.
So you're telling us you guys don't know. Oh, you don't know football, huh?
We just don't pay attention to everything that's going on. Keep in mind, when I cover a Michigan State football game on those Saturdays, I usually see one game.
And Elko gave up the 4th and 16? Like the players didn't have a game plan for the 4th and 16 from Hartman? I don't know.
I still think Elko's a pretty good coach.
He's all right. Venny, number 1, if a quarterback is ruled down by a fake slide because he is giving himself up, then the same rules should apply by a fake kneel down. 2, if any MSU fans have a favorite pro team, they should try to make it to one of their home games. I went to the Bengals-Rams game last month, and it reminded me of the passion and intensity that MSU has taken from me the past several years. And 3, Skyline Chili is great for people who don't want to live past in their 40s.
One of the worst parts about getting older is sort of being reminded that you just can't make every choice you want to make. Like, you got to do that for 40 years, and now if you want to live part of your next 40 years,
well, most people eat like normal. I know that what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But most people have, portion control.
Yeah.
At 40, I think.
I'd like to.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not goofing on you. I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of
it's like
THC involved in mine.
We've been doing the show long enough that when I did that Groovy Donuts challenge where I tried to eat 10 and 9, 10
Either
and 9
way,
minutes,
it was
whatever
a
it
lot.
was, a lot. Like I didn't think anything was wrong. I was like 38, no problems, Then you start to have doctor's appointments who are like, "Are you eating 10 Groovy Donuts?" And
you've had too many donuts, mate.
And by the way, I'm not.
You're not quitting donuts?
I'm not quitting donuts, nor am I quitting Groovy Donuts, because in moderation, Groovy Donuts is the best thing that ever happened to this world.
That is true. Mr. Benjen, number 1. This is the most excitedly anticipated MSU basketball season since 2000-2001. 2, Jared Goff will soon wake up at the stroke of midnight, remember who he really is, and drag Detroit to a wild card loss.
It's depressing. Don't.
God damn.
Stop it.
Yeah. That is a hot take. Mike Fisher next. Number 1, hot, maybe take. Artram, who's this name? Artram Levshenov.
Pretty good.
Levshenov is the best skater State has had on D in more than a decade. He should be enjoyed this year as he'll be in the NHL next year.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, you could just see it on the ice. He's number 5 if you get a chance to watch Michigan State hockey.
Does he go by Artie? It's easier.
That's what I'll start calling him because it's or Art, whatever he wants to be. Al. We can be whatever he wants. Just make it easy.
Bro. Peasy. Number 1. Oscar Thompson is intriguing. Shooting has to come along, but he looks like a smooth player. 2, Jared Goff looking that good without his top option is a sign that tells me we should pay the man. And 3, if Liverpool signed a 6 in the summer, they would walk the league this season. What's a 6?
It's a certain position on the field. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably a defensive.
No, that's enough.
I think it might be a defensive mid.
No, I understand.
Okay. Anyway, pay the man. Would you like Jared Goff? And we always see these discussions like they're talking about a long-term contract with him.
Why?
Right. To me, you wait till after the playoffs. I'm not doing anything with Jared Goff until I see him take the key. Drive this actual good football team for a year. Right? You want to see what he does.
But I don't mind breaking him off. I just don't want to have to do it for an extended period of time.
Right.
And in my hot take, I just think that Jared Goff needs the Lions just as much as the Lions kind of need him, but I don't think you have to overpay. And like you said, you have to kind of talk to him, but like, Jared, if you don't take, what your agent wants, we can do a lot of other things. And I think you'd buy into that. But Lions Dog 97 next. If you want to feel morally superior, perhaps the sport that exploits hazardous labor from minorities for free isn't the sport for you. I'm sick and tired of being talked down to by dusty fucks who low-key want the program to be a disaster because those headlines attract Michigan fans. Rather than, hey, this team is really fucking good. You don't get to heaven by playing nice. Just ask Abraham.
And I'm sure we're still talking about Urban Meyer here. Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, no, this is. I think if that's the direction they decide at some point they want to go, and the talks were to escalate, there are ways to do it, and it would involving some other people on campus, putting him in front of some people, getting people behind him that might have some concerns, because again, that's part of winning too, is placating. You're not just working for a pro franchise here, you're working for a university, and some people don't give a shit about football that are at that university.
Couch on fire next. Number 1, I lost all my money betting on Rutgers. Just kidding. 2, trivia. Nebraska is 4th and MSU 5th for the number of 4-star recruits in the Big Ten, and MSU is 2nd nationally in third down conversion percentage. Defense. 3, 1 muffed overtime from being 5-0. Restore the roar.
It could be 5-0.
Should be 5-0. Yeah.
Could be 5-0. I know they could have lost the Kansas City game, but
Lions,
they could also be.
The roar.
They could also be 5-0. I'm sorry. I gave the Rutgers game, and if that Rutgers quarterback doesn't throw that pick 6 at the end of the first half, boy, I still don't think that was a horrible bet.
It wasn't,
and just
like you said, that was
one.
That was 6 right before half,
and that throw was one of the worst. Damn it!
I mean,
that was like you or I being out there playing Division I football. Like I'm telling you,
I feel like I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either.
I'd probably just scream and throw it out of bounds or something first. Yes. Mike Fisher.
Sports Guy 19.
Shit. Where are we at?
Sports Guy 19.
I got you. Sports Guy 1919. Number 1, the college football playoff this year will generate huge debates on snubs that next year's 12-team playoff would address. 2, I don't mind the NFL overtime rules. If you go on D first and get a stop, you only need a field goal to win, which is way easier than scoring a TD.
Yeah,
but it's still ass.
I just wish they played the full 15 minutes too. So play the quarter, and I don't need the college rules, but just play the full quarter. I don't mind.
But
that
in overtime,
either.
I don't want to see a defensive stop. I'm sorry. I just want to see the offense go back at it. But
what do you mean you don't want to see that?
I don't want to, like he said, if you go on D first and get a stop, I don't want to sit there and root for a stop. I just want to watch the offense just go.
Unless it's your team.
Both sides. Well, yeah, but both sides get a shot.
I do believe both sides should get a shot either way. And again, to the 12-team playoff, this would be it does suck in a lot of ways that they can't just say, let's figure this out, because this would be a year where there are, and I do like this too for college football and the direction it's going. There doesn't seem to be quite the dominance. Now, maybe Michigan is a dominant team. We'll see that when they actually play really good teams. Maybe Georgia will still become that, but doesn't look like it yet. And so all the people say, well, this school could never win a national title. This year, there's nobody who's dominant. There are probably would people say that about Washington at some point? Maybe. And I think Washington's got as good a shot at winning a national title as just about anybody right now.
Original Dark Mantonio. Number 1, even after asking why you leave some of my stuff out, you still left some out.
I didn't mean to.
So, Graham, please answer the question you so impolitely ignored Friday. After reading our takes and questions, do you steal them and use them in your opening monologue of the shows? 2, talk about a blue wall, Graham. You single-handedly made the Coach Tucker wall, and now, thankfully, we won't have to be witness to it anymore. And 3, you are 147% crazy if you think MSU is the best job Urban can get. I would bet some SEC school with deeper pockets and a bigger name brand than MSU would definitely hire him. But I do agree with you that it might not be a good hire in today's game, plus his age and health.
These are good. I definitely occasionally use Twitter questions or hot takes as a gauge on what you guys are interested in, what the fan base is interested in, what readers might be interested in terms of deciding what columns to write next. There are times where I'll read a take and I think that's interesting, and I'll borrow parts of it, or I'll or there's a topic. What tends to happen more is there's a topic that you guys hit on a lot that I wasn't really planning to be one of my 3 takes, or was down, and I'm like, well, shit, I need to develop my take on that. because that's where people's heads are. And so that happens, I would say, more often. I don't – Urban Meyer, I mean, I understand there might be other teams that would want him if he wanted a job after this year. But MSU, I don't know if it's one of the would Texas A&M, for example, maybe they would. Texas A&M, you're probably right, would want him. Yeah, so you might be right. There are places that right now are in better shape than MSU or have a donor base that was willing to spend to a different level that Urban could probably get.
Hans Jurgent next. Number 1, the kids love NFL Red Zone. #ADHD generation. 2, can we just stop with the morning London NFL games? Just play at 1 p.m. It's 6 p.m. in London.
Good
and
take.
3, the next MSU coach must have MSU ties or be from Ohio. They must understand the go blow hate. And bonus. I only achieve mindfulness when gambling.
It's a great way to achieve it. That's a good.
I sure did in this past weekend. Holy hell!
You lost a lot.
Oh.
What was your worst
yesterday?
bet? What was your worst bet?
Oh God, it's so many.
So 0 for yesterday. How many do you have?
Just 0 for 6. I'm not talking like actual picks. Like I do my picks that I like the games, but let's say I didn't win any money this weekend.
Okay, yeah,
but I just went 0 for the NFL.
I do like the idea that why do we have to play these London games, why can't they play
because
at
we're
6 p.m.?
bitches and we like the NFL. Why would you cater to their time frame? You know what I mean? Like why do we have to get up early? You get up early.
Takes games off the board too. Like nobody, you can't bet on those games, by the way, because they're weird. Like Buffalo loses this week, and like it takes games off the board that are no longer interesting that could have been interesting. I'm out on the London games.
Is Jacksonville the team that's going to move there, or I
don't know. They were there all week,
back to back weeks.
I would love that though. I love London, and frankly, if I would actually appreciate that if I were a team. Like, let me just stay all week and get acclimated. I'll do that. I'll play twice. Let's do it.
That's true. Jake Hawkins next. Number 1, I'm rooting for chaos in this college football season, especially after Texas and Notre Dame losing and USC having a scare against Arizona. Imagine this. Penn State beats Ohio State, Michigan beats Penn State, and Ohio State beats Michigan. So Michigan beats Penn State. Ohio State. Okay. Yeah. 2, remove LSU defensive coordinator Matt House's name off the list of potential candidates for this MSU head football coaching job. These past 2 weeks, the LSU defense has looked absolutely terrible. 3, congratulations once again to you both for having a segment of the Twitter question show played on last Friday's Valenti with Rico show.
It's the highlight of my life.
97 won the ticket regarding the whole Urban Meyer being an EL. It's one of the most popular radio shows in Michigan and the country. Keep growing. So we should feel honored. We
have arrived.
Not only did it was the Graham Couch podcast. Because here's what I'm guessing is I'm guessing Valenti was like, okay, so what's the name of the podcast? Couch in the Rube? All right, it's the Graham Couch podcast, which is fine.
No, but wait a second.
Whatever.
Who the fuck is Mike Valenti not to know our podcast? No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm saying the name of it.
Right.
If it were Valenti and the Rube, I think we both the Valenti show.
So people sometimes, they're not everybody in our listener group loves Bill Simonson, the Huge Show, right?
Yeah.
But when I go on his show, you know what he doesn't screw up? The name of our podcast. You know what he repeatedly mentions? The name of our podcast, right? There's an art form to this sort of thing.
Right. If he doesn't say the right podcast, it's not like we got any jump off of it.
Yeah. No, it didn't do us any good. We do have. I'm sure we have some crossover. Because people listen to Valenti, and it is a popular show. But we consider ourselves a popular show. If we started playing, like, this is the best free advertising he's ever got, us talking about him.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Number 1, no one is morally pure. 2, it's football. It's a business. Winning is the expected result. The college football you expect with student athletes is no more. And 3, the media expects mediocrity from Michigan State because they don't want to think about teams other than the brands.
That there is the keeping the Michigan State down stuff from outside and just the shitting on MSU stuff is overkill, and it's nauseating. And for that reason, there is a part of me that would really enjoy Urban Meyer, the football coach, winning 10 games and then seeing what the outside reaction would be to fuck. But to Upper Deck Jerk Guy's point, there is. I don't think we should ever let it get there, though, when there is a point where it's a business and winning is the only expected result and you compromise everything and student athletes are no more. If it gets there, college football just isn't played at a high enough level for that. Just get rid of the fucking sport. We'll watch the NFL. Put the NFL games on Saturday and Sunday. Give us more games. We don't need college football if it's not going to have something to it that gives you a different kind of joy and a different kind of expectation. I don't know. That's a bad way to end. We'll fix that in post. Maybe cut Upper Deck Dirt guys' comments altogether.
Done.
We appreciate MuskOx. Go to gomuskox.com if you want to look as good as me. Better yet, if you already look better than me, which is pretty much everybody who listens to this show, you'll look even better in a MuskOx flannel. Again, the promo code is HOFF, HOFF, for $15 off your MuskOx flannel. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Go there for a date night, for Trivia Tuesdays, for brunch on the weekends, for any occasion. You'll impress your significant other. We'll be back. Maybe have Rexroad on, some Harry.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room.